Okay. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to jump into video editing and some of the basics of how we actually get this done. One of the things I want to begin with is just capturing good video. Really, one of the most important things you can do for this project or for future video is just get some really quality shots right off the bat. So what does that mean? That means thinking thoughtfully about the framing of the shots that you're going to do, how close you are to your subjects, the lighting for those subjects. Do you want natural lighting? Do you want to set up really good lighting around them in some capacity? Using lamps in creative ways is how I would do it very early on. And the other thing you want to be thinking very thoughtfully about is how you capture the audio for them. Do you want to set up microphones? Do you want to think about where the audio source is compared to your subject? Okay, so what I see most of all when people are shooting their videos is that they're using a microphone that is actually pretty far away from their subjects. And the impact that has on decent audio is really profound. And a very easy way of changing that is by having something as simple as a cell phone nearby the person that captures just the audio. And you're actually going to be using that audio alone. You don't even need the video running, but you'll shoot either a video or you'll use the audio app on your phone to capture audio. And most cell phones these days have very robust microphones, and it sounds so much better than simply using the source phone that you're going to be capturing this video on than from a distance. Then the audio that captures is never quite as good as something that's nearby the person. So think about how you're going to capture the audio and then layering the video and the audio separately. So similar to Photoshop, when it comes to finding really good photographs as your source, think about developing really good images for your video. What you're going to be doing for this project is collaborating with people on a team to put together a short video that is going to use what's called the exquisite corpse style. Exquisite corpse was an art process that was developed in the 20th century for people to creatively come up with drawings. It was more of a parlor game initially to develop art that people didn't quite know what the whole project would actually turn out to be. It was like figure drawing, where you would draw a piece of it and fold the paper over so people couldn't necessarily see the whole of it, and then the next person would pick up where you left off and draw the next part and then fold the paper, and then eventually the whole thing would be complete, but it would be in pieces. So it was called exquisite corpse as a result. And what you're going to do here is shoot a bit of video and pass it along to the next person who's going to pick up where you left off and carry on the video until you reach the end. These are going to be short videos. I'm going to make them 2 to 3 minutes long. And actually, the style that you take, it can really be up to you as a group. I really want you to use your imaginations for this, and whatever creative process you decide to utilize for your group is fine by me. One of the things that I'll suggest is that you as a group storyboard early on, so everybody has a clear sense. Unlike Exquisite Corpse, you can know what each other are doing, but everybody needs to shoot their own video for their segment of it, and then you can stitch it together however you see fit in Adobe Premiere. But one good thing would be to say, what is our story? What kind of thing do we want to communicate in a very short video? It's only 2 minutes long, and to communicate something in a very short period of time is very difficult. So what you can do is to go ahead and sketch out what the story is, what the shots are going to be, who's going to get what shots, and how those shots are going to be laid out in relationship to each other. So planning ahead will do you a world of good when it comes to actually sitting down with the camera and capturing the video that you're going to capture and what it's going to look like. So once you capture your video on your cell phones, and you do have to use a cell phone for your video, you can't use a professional camera for this, mostly because we're talking about the impact on our societies of everybody having a phone on them. It is the most pervasive technology we have. There are more cell phones on the planet now than there are toilets, than there are toothbrushes. Globally, it is the most pervasive digital technology that we have. What is the impact when all of these phones have a camera on them? What impact does it have on the ways that we document our lives? We document things like injustice, or we even connect with each other and learn more about each other's cultures as we are more globally connected than we ever have been in human history. The cell phone is playing a really fundamental role in that, in capturing our everyday lives and communicating that to people very broadly. So we're going to experiment with this very robust technology that is the most pervasive on the planet at the moment, and get creative with it and bridge the culture and creativity sections of this course. So let's go ahead and jump over to Adobe Premiere and start creating some video together.
Okay, today we are going to create a very simple video just to learn the basics of using Premiere Pro. Premiere is very easy to use. It's a simple, straightforward program for editing video. The nice thing about Adobe Premiere, however, is that it's a very deep program. So you can use this for simple video editing and doing some very rough edits, throwing something together in a matter of minutes. Alternatively, you can use Premiere for high quality film production, and it is the dominant medium used for creating video today. So whether it be television or film, most production studios are now using Adobe Premiere as their go-to software for editing video. So from very basic editing that you could use for social media to something as sophisticated as creating a feature film, Adobe Premiere can do it all. So it's a very deep program with lots of options and abilities, but for the basic user, it's also very intuitive. So we're going to go ahead and launch Premiere Pro, and we are going to create a new project. And we will title this Skateboarding in Europe. And where do we want to put this? We'll browse it. I'm going to put it in my workshop folder for Premiere. If you have not yet created a folder for Premiere, go ahead and do that now. One of the things that's really fundamental for creating video is organization. I can't stress it enough. When you're working in any of these design platforms or software, being organized will save you so many times. It's just really fundamental that you want to be able to organize yourself well. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And this is the basic layout of Premiere that we have. In the bottom left corner is going to be where I import my media, and I can see it and scroll through the media that I have. This window right here to the left is where I can look at my clips before I actually add them to my project. And this window right here on the upper right is the actual edited footage that I'm, the output essentially of what the final product is looking like. And here's the timeline where a lot of my work is going to happen. I'm going to jump over to my folder for Premiere. One of the most important things you can do for any of your design projects, but especially when working in Adobe Premiere, is to organize yourself well. You're going to have lots of footage, lots of audio, lots of B-roll, which is the kind of footage that overlays the primary footage. You're going to have many things that are going to make up your projects, and having them organized well is really fundamental. So what we will do here is what I've done is I've downloaded a bunch of different files from the workshops folder on Canvas. And I've got this project set up, which is what I just created in Adobe Premiere, PROJ, so Premiere Project, which is going to be, again, sort of that base foundation where everything is gathered. I've downloaded a bunch of MP4 files. One of these is called Skateboarding Sounds, which I'm actually going to only use the audio for. It's something I grabbed off of YouTube. So I'll use that here. But what I want to do first is to create a unique folder. So I can create file, new folder, and I'm going to call this skateboarding video project. And I'm going to go ahead and pull everything over into that. So all of these files are going to get dropped in there. And also I downloaded a piece of audio called Shangri-La Instrumental by a band called Yacht that I got from the Free Music Archive, which is royalty-free music. And I'm going to drop all of this in here. Now you can organize this further if you want. You can create a folder for main footage, B-roll. You can create a folder for audio. So I can grab yacht and skateboarding sounds, for example, drop those into my audio folder. I can grab the rest of these MP4 files and drag them into main footage. What we're doing today doesn't have any B-roll, so I won't need a folder called B-roll at this time. Now, what you can do, for example, when you're pulling in your clips, I'm going to grab these first three just as an example, and I can drag them straight onto that corner of Adobe Premiere, and it drops right in. Alternatively, I can go up to File, Import, and let me go to my skateboarding video project, main footage, and I'll grab those last three and go ahead and hit Import. I can also do Command-I or Control-I if you're on a PC and go to Audio, grab these two, and I'm going to import them as well. Alternatively, what I can do is I can grab just this audio folder and import the entire folder itself. And now I've got a folder. So one of the things you can do here is if I had a bunch of different kinds of clips like B-roll, main footage, that I was, or primary footage that I was using, I could have different folders as well. And here, for example, I could say primary footage, and I could, if I wanted to, drag all of these into that folder. So I can organize myself a little bit better if I wanted to be able to do that. And then I can just kind of scroll through here. I can go to my media browser and find some things on my computer as well. There's lots of different ways to import your video from your cell phones into Adobe Premiere. The main thing is just getting a way so the cell phone can send the file to your computer. So that's going to be the trick. I use AirDrop. I find that to be the easiest on a Mac. You can also use various software, Dropbox, or different kinds of files to share things from your cell phone directly to computers. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is to create a sequence. A sequence is essentially similar to the layers palette in Photoshop. It's where everything is organized. It sets your parameters. It's your document settings in a sense. That's the better way to describe it. A sequence sets up your document. What sort of frame rate do you want? What's your aspect ratio? What are the pixel resolutions? So it's kind of like that when we set up our posters initially in Photoshop and we set up the dimensions and everything. That's the equivalent of a Premiere sequence. What we are going to do is set up a sequence in a couple of different ways. I just wanted to show you. One of the things you can do is go ahead and the first clip that we are going to use in this is the standing, skateboarding standing. And if you were to just drag and drop this onto the timeline, you have created your sequence. And you can go up to sequence and see the settings that it created. It created the frame rate based on that particular piece of footage. Now go ahead and do Command or Control Z and undo that. And what I'd like you to do is to instead just grab and drag this video of him pushing. And you'll notice that it says it doesn't match the sequence settings. The reason is you can kind of tell on this video, this is captured vertically rather than horizontally. So it doesn't match the aspect ratio of the clip that we just did. So if we change sequence settings, for example, now all of a sudden we have very different settings. If I go to the end of this clip and insert this clip right next to it, you can see now that has had to adjust to those vertical settings. So now all of a sudden, every piece of footage that I pull in afterwards is going to be based on that first clip that I import. I'm going to go ahead and Command or Control Z and undo all of that. This is going to be important because the first person who is creating video for your group projects is going to basically set the sequence. They're going to set the parameters of what the video looks like based on the first clips that they drag in, if that's how you ultimately decide to do it. And if you do see, for example, let me go ahead and pull in this video again, just as an example. What you see a lot, I'm dragging this to the beginning and dropping it. If I keep the existing settings, and let me move the playhead here on top, here you can kind of see it has maintained the original aspect ratio because I said keep sequence settings regardless of the video that I'm dropping in. There's a better way of doing that, and I will show you how we're going to handle this vertical footage later on. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and clicked back in my timeline, and I pressed the up arrow, which puts me right back at that starting point. I'm going to start pulling in some footage now, now that I've got a sequence set up. And again, you can always do, you can create new sequences for your project. You can do that from right here next to the trash can, new sequence. And then it gives you all of these different kinds of settings. So if you click on settings, you can say what kind of editing mode do you want? What is your frame rate? So if you are working with people who have a very particular kind of sequence setup for their projects, for their media that they use on a regular basis, if you're working for a corporation, they typically have got, media companies have their own setup. They know exactly the way that they want you to set up your video, so you can get all of these details from them specifically. And this is what you want to start with. You want to set up your document correctly, rather than edit the video and then realize actually you've got the aspect ratio all wrong. The pixel dimensions here are not in line with what they're using, and then you have to go in and tweak things afterwards. So setting up your document initially is important. For what we're doing for this class, just dragging and dropping that first clip that is the most representative of what you're doing is a decent way of doing things. Okay, let's pull in some footage now. Go ahead and double click on, you can actually click on the words here, skateboard standing, and it pulls it up into this preview panel right here. And I can drag things around to make it a little bit bigger so I can see. Similarly, you can kind of, well, yeah, actually, we won't be using, oh, here, so, I'm sorry. We can kind of zoom in and out, 100%. That's what that looks like at 100%. Usually will fit to the frame here. Okay, we can hit spacebar and it'll play this. Alternatively, you can press L and K to pause, J to back up. That is another way. So if you have the JKL buttons. And what we're going to look for is where we want to start our edits. I'm going to back it up just a bit. Right where it starts to zoom in on him, I'm going to go ahead and press the I button, which is an in point. I'm marking the start of the clip that I'm going to use. And then I'll click K, and I want to wait till it focuses right there, pause, and then I hit O. There's my out. And what you can do at this point is just, so I'm selected here in the timeline. You can see I'm selected on V1. And there is no audio selected here because actually there isn't audio to these tracks. It is purely video. So if I kind of hover over that, drag audio only is not even an option because there is no audio here. But I'm at the beginning of the playhead. My playhead is right at the beginning of the whole project. And if I hit comma, it inserts that clip. And I can press the up arrow, or sorry, as soon as I select it on the timeline, I can hit the up arrow and hit spacebar. All right, that's my clip. And then I can hit down to go to the end of that. And it's really crucial that you're inserting clips right where they start and end. You want them to butt right up against each other. You don't want to eyeball it here. Okay, next clip that we're going to use is Skateboarding Monument. I'm going to click on the words here, Skateboarding Monument. And here, similarly, I'm going to hit L. And it plays in there. So it depends on which element you're selected on. So I need to select the preview pane, hit L. And then I want to wait till it focuses. Okay, and then I'll pause it, and that'll be my out. I'm going to start from the beginning. That's fine. And again, I can just hit comma. Alternatively, what I can do is just click on this clip and drag it right on top. And I've got this little magnet selected, which is the snapping tool, which means it's going to snap right up against that. And now it has inserted that with it. And you can also, if you want to drag video only, so if this had sounds that I didn't want associated with it, I could just grab this little video icon and drag it there. Or if I just like the audio, which is what we're going to do in a bit as well, we will be able to pull just the audio off. Okay, now we are going to get to this clip here. I'm going to double click on the pushing off clip here. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, again, scroll through and kind of find, so he's pushed off. What I'm looking for is clip of him, yeah, maybe right here. That'll be my endpoint. Okay, and then I'll pause there and do an out point. What I'm going to do here is actually do a couple of different clips. So I've done an in and an out here. And if you'll notice, let me go ahead and I'm going to hit play a bit. And here, let's say I wanted to have another in point of him pushing. And an out right there. You'll notice my previous in and out have totally vanished. So what I want to do here instead is to create what's called a subclip. So I'm going to go up to clip, and I'm going to do this called make subclip. So if you can go ahead and do that, create an in and an out that is where he's pushing. It doesn't really matter where. And I will call this skateboarding pushing off. I'll call this dash feet dash subclip. And here I've got restrict trims to subclip boundaries. I'm not going to click that. What that means is essentially if you want to adjust sort of the beginning and end in any way after you've made the subclip, that restricts it and says, no, it's its own clip now. All of this material over here and over here on the beginning and the end, forget about those for this subclip. We're treating this like it's its own clip. I don't actually want to do that. I want to give myself a little bit of leeway to be able to edit on either side of the clip here. So I'm going to turn that off and click OK. And you can see that it's got now that just that subclip here. I'm going to go back here, drag the playhead and hit play. And I'm going to wait till I kind of see his back there. Now I'm going to create a new endpoint. You'll see it retained that old. And then here's my out point. Okay, that's good. Okay, now in the timeline, I'm going to go ahead and use my down arrow to get to the end here. Instead of V1 being right here, I'm going to go ahead and move it up because I want to now put these on a different track. I'm going to treat these a little bit differently because of the way that they are oriented. I want them to set off. So if you ever need a track to be kind of set off for some reason, whether you're perhaps treating it differently color-wise, if you're editing the color and you want sort of a unique thing applied to just that clip, you can do that. So I'll go ahead and hit comma again just to insert it. And let me go to my subclip here. And I can see, yeah. And this is all set up. I can go ahead and hit comma again. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like. Let me go back to the beginning and hit spacebar. So I've got it zooming in on him. He pushes off. It focuses on the monument. And now him skating. And skating again. Okay, these two clips, because they are oriented vertically, I need to adjust. I'm going to use a brand new thing that was launched in the latest edition of Adobe Premiere called Auto Reframe. So at the top up here, go ahead and click on Effects. And it will open up this effects plane. And the way that I mostly use effects is just by using the search. There's so many different video and transitions and lots of different elements here. What I'm going to do is just look for auto reframe. And I'm going to drag it onto that first clip. And you can see it has now adjusted it based, using machine learning AI, it's adjusted it based on what it thinks is the main subject of that particular clip based on the aspect ratio of the sequence. So it's adjusting the vertical video to match my sequence settings based on what it thinks the subject is. So let's take a look. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and apply this. We're going to, again, drag auto reframe onto the second one, and we just drag it directly on there. You see a little plus. It's highlighted around there. I let go. And it's doing the same thing. But here instead, I want to focus on his feet, not on his shoulders. So what I can do here is I can crop this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the crop option. I'm going to click on that and drag that onto this particular one. Okay. And I'm going to choose effects controls for this. So here I found that up here with these little arrows, and I chose effects controls, and I've got this selected. It's got auto reframe, it's got crop, oh, and actually, you know, let me undo crop here because actually I think what I need is just adjusting the position. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you can undo the crop. The crop, if I redo it, just so you can see, crop allows you to do things like zoom. It allows you to pull things over left and right. And actually, I don't need that. We will use crop shortly for something else, but I don't actually need it here. So let me go ahead and undo that. Undo that one more time. So Command Z, I got rid of crop. If you leave it there, it's really not a big deal. What I'm going to do is adjust the position. And here you can, if you hover over these, oh, I accidentally clicked the stopwatch. I don't want those keyframes, which allow you to create animations and similar to Adobe XD. Okay, so I have auto reframe set up, and actually what I want to do is change the offset of what it's actually looking at. So what I'm going to do is if I hover over this, it turns into this scrubbing icon where I can just click and just start dragging to the right. I can just keep dragging and keep dragging and keep dragging until I see the bottom here where it's focused on his feet. And that's what I want it to focus on. So basically what I've said is go ahead and auto reframe this, adjust the position, adjust the way it looks, but offset it by this many pixels. Okay, let me back this up. I click on the timeline and use my up arrow to go back. Let's take a look. So he's pushing off there. Oh, and you know, it did not work well at the beginning here, so I'm going to scrub that down a little bit. Okay, let's try that again. Click on the timeline. I click up arrow to go to that first frame. Let's take a look. Right, great. Now what I want to do is to create footage that has several aspects of the video sort of in different corners of my screen here. So at the very top, I'm going to go back to my editing bay. And what I want to do here is I'm going to create sort of a stack of 3 different videos. So at the bottommost one that I'm going to do here, and actually I could put that right here where I'm at. So I can zoom in, see exactly where I'm at with regards to things. I'm going to go ahead and change my, the clip that I'm going to start with is the base clip. And when you are arranging clips that are going to overlay each other or and somehow interact on the screen, your base clip is the one that's kind of behind. Again, we're dealing with the layers hierarchy. Whatever moves up is out in front, same as Photoshop. So the very base layer is going to be the skateboard cruising. Okay, so let's go ahead, hit L. We can see what this is. Let me remember exactly what, let me click over at the timeline and kind of press the back arrow. And you can see that his back foot is kind of, his foot that he uses to push is out behind him. So I think I want to start there as well. So maybe something like right here is similar to where he was at. So I'll create an in. And then I'll create an out right there. And I'm right here. I can go ahead and use comma and then the backslash keyboard shortcut to see my whole timeline at this point. In the timeline, I'm going to go ahead and press the up arrow to go back to the beginning here. And I'm going to move this up to video 3 track. And what I want to do here is find the skateboard buildings, which is similar to what I was just looking at. And we'll go ahead and hit play. Okay, and I want to kind of focus in on this part where it starts to curve in. I'll create my endpoint. And we can create the out there. I'm on the correct track down here. I'll click on the timeline and I'll go ahead and hit. So watch what happens if I hit comma. This is interesting. It pushes that other clip back because what it is inserting rather than creating an overwrite. It's saying you probably want to push that other clip back so they're both still visible. We don't actually want that. Let's go ahead and Command Z. And what I want to do here instead is press the period, which is overwriting, saying everything that's below, just keep it the same. You'll notice that this track is too long. What I want to do is keep these all the same. With my black arrow selected, if I hover over, it turns into this red ripple delete option, and I can just drag it to make it the same length. And again, I use the up arrows to go back. And now I don't have a track above this, and I need one. What I'm going to do is actually go to the clip called Skateboarding Through Water. I'm going to use this whole clip. I'll play it for you just so you can see. It's a short clip, 7 seconds, 12 frames. And I'm just going to click on the video and drag it right on top of this. Okay. Now I noticed that both of these clips, none of them quite match. That's okay. What I want to do here is to, I can go ahead and drag them all to keep them the same length roughly. And right now we've got this clip covering everything up. And what I want to do here is go ahead and make it smaller. So I'm going to go back up to my effects panel. So I click effects up at the top here. I search for crop, and I am going to go ahead and drag that straight on top of Skateboarding Through Water. And for the scale on this, what I want to do, I'm going to start with about a 50% scale. So I'm going to change that to this. And what I can do then is also scrub this position over here to the right. I want to have it be at the bottom. And similarly, I want to scrub this over to the left. I'm going to have this in the bottom corner here. Okay, for the next clip, I'm going to do a similar kind of thing where I drag crop right on top of that. And I'm going to also experiment a little bit with this and just kind of see what the scale is that I'm going to be working with. And similarly, I'm going to drop this to 50%. And I'm going to move this down as well. So what I want to do here is go ahead and move this to the corner over here as well. And what you can do is you can also zoom way in to see, did I actually get that? And there is a little bit of room here. So there I can line those up. Let me go back to fit so I can see what's happening. Okay, so this is a way you can arrange several different videos on top of each other. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to back up here and go ahead and hit play. Okay, great. So that's just some basic editing that we want to do. Now, for example, if I wanted to do something a little bit more dynamic with the 3 videos here, I can create some different angles on these. And I just wanted to show you what's possible here for the kinds of work that you can do with this. So what I'm going to do here is apply some different what are called wipes, which are transitions to these, just to give you a sense of what's possible. So under effects, let's go ahead and choose wipe. And we are going to grab a linear wipe and apply it to that first one, skateboarding through water. Now, what I want to do is change, the first thing for these kinds of wipes is changing the transition completion. And this is I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 51. And the angle for this, I'm gonna scrub over. You can kind of see now that it's, so maybe about 200 and, yeah, almost to the middle there. Yeah, 207 looks good. The scale of it is not quite great yet, so I think I might bump the scale up a bit as well, maybe around 68, and then I need to kind of change the positions as well. Maybe move this up a bit so I can see more of the video. And let's see, is there a little more to the right here as well? Yeah, a lot. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And let's do the same thing. Let's add a linear wipe to the second one. And what I want to do here for this is I'm going to create a transition completion of around 37. And it's all just experimentation. You just want to kind of play around with this. The wipe angle on this, I'm going to kind of scroll that up until, yeah, maybe a similar kind of angle there. And the scale, I'm going to similarly bump up to, yeah, something in the 80s. And that's looking pretty good. I want to maybe move this around just a bit so I can see more of his feet there. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe I'll push this off to the side as well until you can kind of see there's a cutoff right there. All right, so that creates, so for just one example, let me go ahead and play this. You'll notice there's a red line here, which means it has not been rendered. It's going to play back, not in spectacular ways. You can see it's stuttering really badly, and I actually just totally paused. So what I can do actually here is I can go up to sequence. Let me get the playhead over here. Sequence render selection. So I put the playhead on top of the area that I want to render so I can actually see it. And it will slowly kind of render through these. This is where every one of your computers is going to do this differently based on its processing power. The more powerful the computer, the faster all of this goes. And now you can see it's a green line. I can watch all of that. Okay, and that's done. I'm going to add one more element to this just so you can see one of the things that you can do. This is an old legacy approach to this. I'm going to go back to editing here so I can see this a little bit better. I'm going to move the playhead on top of these, and I'm going to go ahead and go up to File, and I'm going to create a new legacy title. And I'm going to call this bars. And there it is. And what I want to do here is to be able to, let me make this a bit bigger, draw some lines out just to even more cleanly separate these. So I'm going to choose the line tool, and I'm essentially just eyeballing. I'm going to click and drag across that. I'm going to change the line width to 30. That looks good. And I don't have any stroke or anything on that. And I'm going to do a similar thing right here. I'm going to start up in that corner, and I'm just going to click until I get to the end of that. Again, change the line width to 30. And I can use the tilde key, which is the little swirly key next to the number 1, and that zooms this in, and I can see, let's see if I click away. Oh, it turned out pretty good. If it didn't for you, you can always just click on that and use the arrow keys to move things around. You know, if you needed to kind of nudge things in any direction, like I'll just move that up and down. That's great. I'll use the tilde key one more time to go back. And then I'm done here. So I can close this out, and you can see that bars has now shown up in my media. I'm going to drag it onto above all of these, and I'm going to drag it to the width of that. And once again, I want to go up to sequence render selection because I don't have that piece of footage rendered so I can really watch it yet. And I'm already noticing that the bars are not quite aligned right there. So I can actually play with that a little bit after the fact and fix it up. Okay, so the skateboarding through water, I'm going to go ahead and go back to effect controls. And I'm going to kind of scrub this a bit so it lines a little bit better up with those bars. And again, it turned red because as soon as you adjust anything, it no longer can, the render that you did disappears because now you've changed things. You have to re-render from that point on. Okay, so let's add some music to this. So let me go back to my project here. I'm going to click on my audio, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the yacht track and add it to A1. Let me go back to the beginning and just see what this sounds like. Okay. So now, for example, this clip is too long, and I'm not going to cut anything yet because I know I'm going to add some titles. The one thing that I noticed about this is that the fact that there's no sounds of skateboarding is really annoying. So I went on YouTube and I found this person's clip. Let me go ahead and double click on it and bring it up here of her just recording herself skateboarding. So I'm going to kind of move forward in the clip a bit. And I want to find some areas where I can see that she's pushing off. So let's see. Okay, so actually that is really great. So I'm at about 2 something, and I want to hear the sound of the skateboard kind of wheels hitting the pavement. Okay, and let me just use my arrow key, left arrow key right there. Okay, and I'm going to set an endpoints around 206. And this is a short clip here. You know, we've got 30 seconds or so, 33, 34 seconds, and that is really all that I need here. So let me go ahead and just scrub this forward. And maybe 36, somewhere maybe 240, something like that. I'll set my out point. And what I want is just the audio. So here I'm grabbing this little thing, and you can kind of see if I click on it, I can go in, I can adjust the audio any way that I want it. And what I'm going to do is just drag this down, probably in line with that second clip where he is skateboarding. So let's hit play and see what this looks like. Okay, just slightly off. I'm going to let my cat out. Okay, so I want to move this around so it aligns with the skateboard actually moving. So let me, and I'm going to hit the plus symbol to kind of zoom in. And I'm going to hit spacebar. And right there. is where the skateboard wheels hit. I can mark that if I wanted to with this little icon right there. And what I can do now is just click on this and drag it to the right, and it will match up there. So let's go ahead and go back and take a look at this again. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit pause there. The audio for the skateboarding sounds is a bit loud compared to everything. So what I'm gonna do is click and drag this audio track at the very bottom of it. So what I've done here is just hovered over the bottom of the audio track until it turns into that icon, and I click and drag down, and I can actually see that track even more. And I can even raise this up to and I can see both of these audio tracks now. So the white here are the peaks in there. And there is this line here that I'm hovering over. And if I click on that and pull down, you can see that I'm quieting this track by, let's say, 4.5 decibels. So now let me go back to that moment. I'll hit play. Yeah, that's good. And I can quiet it maybe even just a little bit more, maybe 6 decibels or so, because I just want this ambient noise in the background for this. Okay, and what I would like you to do, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to demonstrate to you, for example, is how you can do some of this. I'm going to bring this video in. So let's say we are in a city and I wanted to pull in some ambient noise of this city to go along with it. So this is on YouTube. You can find lots of sound effects in YouTube. I'm going to grab this and go over to clipconverter.cc, and I'm going to go ahead and click this. It's going to check it. Oh, and it says it's not available for music. I guess there's music in this. Okay. City sound of interesting. Let me try this again. So I'm going to go to clipconverter.cc. And it's going to open up a logo. I get all kinds of redirects here. Okay, yeah, it doesn't like that one. Okay. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is search for some sound effects. I don't need them to be terribly long, but some city street sound effects. I can download this one directly from this company, but just as an example, I wanted to give you this where I can find the URL and copy it. And I'm going to go to a website called clipconverter, clipconverter.cc. And it constantly pops open with redirects. I only need this as an MP3. And I'll hit continue. And it's asking the definition. I do want it high definition. It doesn't really matter in terms of the fidelity or the size of the video. I'm only pulling the MP3 out, and I'll click start. And then I can go ahead and download this to my audio for skateboarding project. Oh, wait, let's see. That's for iCloud. I need to go to my workshops, Premiere, and skateboarding video project. And then here's my audio. City street ambient sound effect. And I'll just get rid of that last little bit there, and I'll save it. And now within this, I can go ahead and go up to File, Import, find that sound effect. And let's take this. Let me jump forward a bit. Okay, so maybe I'll put an endpoint here. There's lots of sounds of water, which probably are going to resonate with this actual footage. All right, and I'll set an out point. And then again, we're just pulling the video. And within my timeline, I'm going to hit backspace so I can see the whole project. And I'm going to grab this and drag it. And you'll notice here that this is the reason why it's so bizarre here is that all of this music track is still there. So I'm going to hit plus a couple of times until it zooms in here. And what I want to do here is maybe drag this to the end of my clip. I'm going to hit plus again. And what I want to do is go ahead and just stretch this out. I'm just going to click and drag it until it hits the beginning of that. And then let me go ahead and press the up button and let me So I wonder if that splashing sound would work with him riding through the water. Let me see. I think that was earlier. Huh? Oh yeah, here we go. So what I can do again is I can really fine tune this and figure out exactly how I want this to sound. Okay, so here I've got this splashing noise within this. Let me see if I can see that in the actual, it doesn't look like it. There's nothing that is really signifying that in this green track. Right around here is what I'm looking for. And I can add a marker to that within the actual footage itself. You see it kind of clips to that. And if I move this, it actually moves with it. So let me scroll forward to him going through the water. And if I can actually drag this to align it and see if that sounds good, like if it kind of contributes to it in any way. Okay, great. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and add some a title to this. And I'm just going to do a basic title for this one. In our next video, we will do something a little bit more in depth. But now I've got all of this footage. I want to put a title at the beginning, but I want to leave some space for it. So let's first figure out the title we're going to use. So if you go to graphics, And you can search for different things like a title, and it will pull up. You can kind of hover over these and see what they look like. Your title here. There's lots of different things you can use. Let's go ahead and just use this bold title. And what I want to do is go back to the beginning of my timeline. So I'm going to, on my keyboard, just press up until I'm at the beginning. And there are different ways of inserting this and kind of dealing with it. What I want to show you is a couple of different techniques here. I'm going to actually go ahead and just drag this right on top of this. And if I move the playhead and select this, you can kind of see your title here. And here, if I click on edit, I can see it says your title here. If I double click on that, I can change it to skateboarding Europe. I don't know if I need this, but you can just write your name right here. So I can see what you're up to. Okay. And then in the timeline, I'll go ahead and hit that up button again. Okay, that's okay. Let me zoom in a bit using plus. And I'm going to go to the edge of that first clip, this skateboard standing.mp4. And I am going to either right click on it or control click. And I'm going to say apply default transition. And this is a cross dissolve. So if again, if I hit the up button, you can see that it fades in. And I can adjust that cross dissolve too. I can make it shorter. I can make it longer. Since these clips are so short though, I'm going to go ahead and Command Z that. I do like the cross dissolve, but actually what I would like to be able to do is to just move everything forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this graphic up. I'm going to drag it on even higher to this video 6 layer. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and I'm going to lock that track. That track is done. It's good. What I want to do now is move the rest of the footage and everything else forward so there's just black behind the title before this goes in. I'm going to go back to editing. And I'm going to choose this tool right here, which is called Track Select Forward tool. And I'm going to click on these. You'll notice that it's not selecting this. And let me show you what would happen, I guess, if I did. It selects everything, including the graphic. That's why I put it on its own layer and I locked that layer because I want to move everything else with it. So if I click and I drag this forward a bit, I have now moved all of my footage forward. So let's go ahead and go back to the beginning and see what this looks like. Okay, and I noticed, you know what? I don't want that music to go with it either. So I'm going to go ahead and Command Z that, and let me I have this track right here. Which I'm going to go ahead and lock that track then. And now let me go back to my forward. And now everything else is selected. And I can start moving these things. Oops. I'm going to zoom in a bit so I can really dial this in. Okay, let's try that out. Okay, there's a pretty hard click once this audio comes in. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, or V as a shortcut, and I'm going to apply the, I can apply default transitions to that as well if I click on that. Yes, I have to click on it first, right, and then right click, and then we have the dissolve there. So let's see how that works. Okay, so this has kind of a, I want to adjust that as well. Let's see here. And I don't know if we need this actually. This I don't know if that helps. Oh, you know what happened? Okay, so here, there's a cross. I see what's going on. Cross dissolve has now applied to everything. So it's accidentally selected on everything and move. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pause that. I'm going to undo everything here. Okay. So when I was adding this apply default transitions, I was accidentally selected on everything and it applied to every piece of footage and audio. So let's try this again. And I'm okay with the title overlapping his face when it first comes in. That's fine with me. Okay, and there we are. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the end of my footage here. I'm going to unlock the audio track. And what I want to do here is my playhead is exactly where I'm at. If I'm selected on that audio track, I can actually cut it with the clipping option here. The control or the shortcut for that is Command K or Control K. And I can do the same thing right here, Control K, Command K, and right here as well. And what I can do here is just select it and I can hit delete and get rid of all of the extra footage that I have. And at the end as well, I can apply the default transitions to those last pieces of footage. And if I select them and hold shift on all of this, oops, and hover over the right corner. No, didn't like that. Okay, let's try this again. Apply default transitions because I want to fade out. Let's see. I think this one. Okay, yes. So those already have it all set up. So let's hover over this. Let's go ahead and render our sequence. Render the selection here so I can actually see what it looks like. Okay, so you notice that we have about a 37-second clip that we've been editing for, about an hour. So I don't want you to underestimate exactly how long it takes to edit projects. Enormously. All right, and there we go. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. The project has been modified. Yes, that's fine. So I saved the project. That means I can go ahead and open up this project in the future. And what I'm going to do, let's say I'm the first person in this. I'm going to go ahead and save the project. You can all share clips together and your source files. Probably what I would do in this project, though, is once I'm done editing my 30 seconds or whatever amount of time of this video, what I can do here is I can go ahead and go File, Export Media. And this is what you're going to do to share your file with me today as well. The format that we're going to use for this is H.264, which is going to create high bitrate MP4 file, and I can click on this output name, make sure I know exactly where it's being saved. I'm going to, again, go back to my workshops folder for Premiere. I'm going to go to my skateboarding video project, and I will call this with your last name, Farman dash skateboarding project or video. Actually, I'm sorry, skateboarding video mix 1. And we'll save that. So it looks good. We're exporting video and audio. And you can change these based on where you're going to be putting this, YouTube presets and things along those lines. I'm going to use just a high bit rate that matches the source video that I'm using, and I can see what the dimensions are of that and the frame rate. And again, for YouTube, sometimes that's different, and you might just upload and see what things look like. You can also render this at maximum depth, which is a higher file size, but creates a better quality video. You can kind of scroll through all of these different things. Target bit rate, you can bump up, for example. Here, let's just go ahead and bump it up to about 16 for, you can bump this significantly higher to create a very high quality video. The lower it is, the smaller the file. But and here, 75 megabytes. And let's see if I can give you an example. If I just bump these way up, you can see the size of the file is going up and down. For what we're doing today, actually, let's go ahead and you can scrub this to about somewhere around 10 is fine. 48 megabytes. We're going to export this. And again, here is where your computer's processing power will reveal itself, and often why designers are buying computers with the maximum possible RAM and the largest number of processors, because encoding video and dealing with rendering and saving takes forever on computers with low processing power. So you want to be able to get a computer that can handle this stuff if you're going to do video regularly. This is going to be the one piece of software, for me anyway, that decides the kind of computer I buy in the future is Premiere. Can it handle video editing is what I'm asking constantly. And the computer that I'm on is fairly new, and it's got pretty good processing power, and didn't take too long to edit that or render that out and save that file. Video is exported successfully. And this is what you're going to share with me. You can either share it through email, through a Google Drive link. You can upload it to Dropbox. You can upload it directly to Canvas. So really whatever. I think with this file size, uploading it to Canvas is perfectly fine for what you're going to share with me next Monday. Okay, and that wraps it up for today. That's the basics of how to edit a simple video. All right, thank you.